are living a lie. Right now, as you read this, there's a mechanism operating inside every woman you know, a primitive code that determines whether she will desire you or discard you, and you have no idea how it works. I'm going to tell you the dark secret of female desire that Freud was forced to silence. Not because he didn't know it, but because the truth was so brutal, so contrary to what society wanted to believe, that he had to bury it under layers of acceptable theory. Today, you will discover what truly triggers deep desire in a woman. And when you finish reading this, you will never look at your interactions the same way again. Do you think you know what women want? Let me guess, you believe they're looking for a nice guy, understanding, who treats them well, who is emotionally available and secure. You think that by being her best friend, the shoulder to cry on, the guy who's always there, you'll win her over. You invest time being the perfect modern gentleman because someone told you that's what they value. Wrong. Completely wrong. And that's why you're failing. Female desire is not a rational choice. It's not a conscious decision based on a list of desirable qualities. Female desire is a survival mechanism buried in millions of years of evolution, operating on layers so deep in the psyche that even she doesn't have conscious access to it. It's a genetic selection machine disguised as romantic emotion. Think with me. How many times have you seen an intelligent, successful, articulate woman fall head over heels for a guy who was clearly not good for her? How many times have you, being the perfect guy on paper, been passed over for someone who seemed to have much less to offer? How many times have you heard, "You're amazing, but I just don't feel that chemistry"? It's not a coincidence. It's reverse engineering of desire in action. The inconvenient truth is this: the female brain possesses an unconscious evaluation system that constantly scans for specific signals of reproductive value and protection. It doesn't matter what she says she wants. It doesn't matter what she thinks she values. When this system detects the right signals, desire is triggered automatically, involuntarily, irresistibly. And what are these signals? They're not flowers. They're not expensive dinners. They're not declarations of eternal love. They are demonstrations of psychological strength, unshakable frame, perceived scarcity, leadership ability under pressure, and yes, a calculated dose of unpredictability that signals you are not a guaranteed resource. Let me give you a concrete example. John, a 32-year-old successful lawyer, was always what we call the perfect guy. He did everything by the book. He responded to messages immediately, was always available, always understanding. When a woman had a problem, John was the first to offer help. When she needed to vent about her problematic ex-boyfriend, John listened for hours. He thought he was building connection, that he was showing he was different, better. Do you know what happened? After months of being the perfect emotional support, the woman John desired started dating a guy who treated her with calculated indifference. A guy who didn't respond to messages for days, who canceled dates last minute, who was never fully available. John couldn't understand. How could she choose someone like that? Simple. The other guy was hitting the right unconscious desire triggers. While John was operating on the rational surface, trying to logically be the best option, the other guy was communicating directly with her limbic system through behaviors that signaled high value. Let me be brutally clear with you. There is a hidden mechanic operating here, and it works through specific patterns that I will name now so you never forget them. First, the push-pull effect. It's the art of creating emotional tension by alternating proximity and distance. You get close, create connection, then strategically pull back. It's not about being a jerk. It's about understanding that desire is born in tension, not in comfort. When you compliment a woman and then make a clever tease, when you show interest and then focus on something else, you are creating the psychological space where desire can grow. Her brain interprets this as a signal that you have options, that you're not desperate, that she needs to work to keep your attention. Second, the excessive validation trap. Every time you seek approval, every time you ask, "Is everything okay?" Every time you apologize for having a strong opinion, you are subconsciously communicating that her value is greater than yours. And her unconscious evaluation system registers this instantly. She may consciously appreciate your consideration, but unconsciously, desire is dying. High-value men don't seek validation. They grant it. Third, the boundary test. Women constantly test, even without realizing it. It's an evolutionary mechanism to check the strength of a potential partner. When she makes an irrational request, when she teases, when she pushes to see how far she can go, it's not malice. It's her system checking if you have a backbone. If you always give in, if you never say no, if you don't have clear boundaries, you fail the test, and desire dies. Fourth, perceptible scarcity. Your time and attention need to be perceived as valuable and limited resources. When you are always available, when you respond instantly, when you cancel your plans to be with her, you are communicating an abundance of time and, paradoxically, low value. Men with significant lives, with purpose, with options, are not always available, and that is deeply attractive on an unconscious level. Fifth, the projection of silent strength. It's not about being the tallest, the physically strongest, the richest. It's about projecting unshakable certainty in moments of pressure. When the waiter messes up the order, when you get a flat tire, when an unexpected event arises, how do you react? If you panic, complain, show disproportionate irritation, you are signaling weakness. If you remain calm, make a quick decision, resolve it efficiently without drama, you are communicating capacity for protection and leadership. Sixth, the comfort zone challenge. Women are biologically programmed to be attracted to men who make them grow, who pull them out of stagnation. When you propose new experiences, when you challenge her intellectually, when you don't automatically agree with everything she says, you are activating desire through growth. Too much comfort is the death of attraction. Seventh, nonverbal status language. 90% of value communication happens without words. Your posture, your tone of voice, your eye contact, the way you occupy space, all of this is constantly being processed by her evaluation system. Shoulders back, chin slightly raised, deliberate and unhurried movements, deep and paused voice, direct eye contact without being aggressive. These micro signals communicate more about your value than 1,000 words. Now let me tell you about Peter, 38 years old, charismatic entrepreneur, prosperous businesses. Peter had an easy time starting conversations, making women laugh, creating that initial spark. But something always went wrong after a few weeks. Do you know what his problem was? Peter thought that after gaining initial interest, it was time to open his heart. He started sending long messages about his feelings, shared his insecurities, constantly sought reassurance about where the relationship was going. Peter was making the fatal mistake of revealing deep vulnerability too early. The female limbic system interprets this as weakness, as an inability to be the protector, the leader, the emotional rock that millions of years of evolution programmed them to seek. The interest evaporated like water in the desert. And then there's Charles, 29 years old, an idealistic university professor. Charles deeply believed that intelligence and sensitivity were the pillars of attraction. He quoted poetry, discussed philosophy, always expressed his emotions openly. He avoided any kind of tension or conflict. He thought games were for teenagers. Charles attracted women, yes, but always as the intellectual friend, the confidant, the safe shoulder. Never as the man they desired to tear the clothes off. Because Charles didn't understand that desire isn't born in the intellectual comfort zone. It's born in tension, in challenge, in the dance between proximity and distance, certainty and mystery. Are you starting to see the pattern? All these men were operating from what society said was right, from what women themselves say they want. But there's an abyss between what is said and what actually triggers desire. And here's the most disturbing part. Women aren't lying when they say they want a sensitive, understanding, emotionally available guy. They truly believe it, consciously. But desire isn't a conscious decision. It's a chemical, hormonal, involuntary reaction to specific stimuli that have been selected over millennia of evolution. How many times have you heard a woman say, "I don't know what I saw in him," about a guy who clearly treats her poorly? How many times have you seen intelligent, successful women make seemingly irrational decisions when it comes to who they're attracted to? It's not irrationality. It's the biological program overriding conscious processing. And this is where most men fail catastrophically. You are trying to appeal to her conscious mind with logic, with arguments about why you are the best choice, with rational demonstrations of value. Meanwhile, another guy is speaking directly to her limbic system through behaviors that signal strength, scarcity, leadership, and challenge. Do you want to know what fatal mistakes you are probably making right now? The nice guy syndrome. You are being overly helpful, always available, always agreeing, always trying to make her life easier. You think you're showing you're a good partner, but what you're really communicating is that you have no boundaries, no life of your own, no other options. You are putting yourself in a subservient position, and subservience doesn't trigger desire. It never has. It never will. The compulsive search for validation. Every time you ask if she liked the date, every time you ask for confirmation that everything is okay between you, every time you seek reassurance about her feelings, you are digging your own grave. High-value men don't need constant external validation. They know their worth, and that inner certainty is magnetically attractive. Early emotional transparency. You think you're being authentic by sharing all your insecurities, fears, and traumas early on. You think you're creating intimacy. But what you're doing is overloading her evaluation system with signals that you are emotionally unstable, that you will be more of a burden than a support. Vulnerability has its place, but it's not at the beginning and never in excess. Extreme complacency. She treats you poorly, cancels last minute, shows disrespect, and you accept everything to avoid conflict. You rationalize by saying you're being understanding, mature. But what her unconscious system registers is weakness, an inability to defend yourself, an inability to defend her if necessary. Desire requires respect, and respect requires boundaries. Excessive availability. You respond to messages in seconds. You're always free when she wants to go out. You cancel your plans to accommodate her. You think you're showing interest and priority. But you're communicating desperation and a lack of your own purpose. Men with meaningful lives have commitments, have priorities, have a natural scarcity of time. Ignoring nonverbal cues. You're so focused on what she says that you don't notice what her body is communicating. She says she loved the date, but her arms are crossed. Her body is turned away. She checks her phone constantly. You choose to believe the words because it's more comfortable. But the body doesn't lie, and if you can't read these signals, you're navigating blind. Now, I'm going to give you the exact protocol to reverse this situation. These aren't tricks. These aren't manipulations. These are behavioral adjustments based on how desire truly works at a biological and psychological level. First, observe behavior, not words. Stop trying to decipher what she said. Start paying attention to what she does. If she says she's too busy, but is always online, she's not busy for everyone, just for you. If she says she values honesty, but is attracted to men who maintain mystery, believe the behavior. Behavior reveals the unconscious program at work. Second, establish clear and consistent boundaries. When something bothers you, communicate it. When a behavior is unacceptable, signal it, not with anger, not with drama, but with unshakable clarity. "That doesn't work for me" is a powerful phrase. Use it. Boundaries aren't ultimatums. They are communications of self-worth. And paradoxically, the more clearly you communicate your boundaries, the more attractive you become. Third, cultivate self-sufficiency and personal purpose. Your mission in life cannot be to win over women. It needs to be bigger than that. When you have a purpose that transcends relationships, when you are genuinely busy building something meaningful, scarcity and value don't need to be faked. They are real, and that is powerfully attractive. Fourth, lightly challenge and cleverly tease. Stop agreeing with everything. Have opinions. Disagree when you genuinely disagree. Make intelligent provocations that show you're not overly impressed, that you don't put her on a pedestal. A pedestal is where statues belong, not where desire is born. Fifth, manage your availability. Don't be predictable. Sometimes respond quickly, sometimes take hours. Sometimes be available, sometimes not. Not for games, but because you genuinely have a full life happening. Controlled unpredictability keeps her brain's reward system engaged. Sixth, learn to deal with the discomfort of tension. Most men can't stand emotional tension. At the first sign of discomfort, you rush to resolve, to please, to comfort. But attraction is born in tension. When you can remain calm during a provocation, when you don't rush to fill uncomfortable silences, when you don't give in to emotional pressure, you are demonstrating psychological strength that is deeply attractive. I'm going to tell you something no one has the courage to say. The reason you're failing isn't because you're not good enough. It's because you're playing by the wrong rules. You're trying to win a game by following instructions that were deliberately distorted to create compliant, predictable, controllable men. Society has an interest in creating men who don't understand their own power. Men who constantly seek external validation. Men who don't know their own strength. Because men who understand the real mechanisms of desire, who know their worth, who don't depend on external approval, are dangerous to the status quo. Think about it. If all men understood what I'm telling you, if all applied these principles, what would happen? The game would change completely. The power dynamics in relationships would be rebalanced. And that threatens centuries-old established structures. That's why you've been fed lies since childhood. Be nice and girls will like you. Treat her like a princess. Happily ever after. These are narratives of control, not reality. And you bought all of them. But there's an even greater price you're paying. Every time you fail in an interaction, because you don't understand these mechanisms. Every time you're rejected without understanding why. Every time you see her choose another guy who clearly offers less than you in logical terms, your self-esteem takes a hit. Your confidence erodes. You start to believe there's something fundamentally wrong with you. And then the vicious cycle begins. The less confident you become, the more you seek validation. The more you seek validation, the less attractive you become. The less attractive you become, the more you are rejected. And the cycle continues, destroying men who could be extraordinary if they simply understood the real rules of the game. Do you know what the most tragic part is? Women suffer from this too. They are programmed to feel attraction to certain signals of strength and leadership. But society has taught them to say they want something else. So they become confused, frustrated, wondering why they can't feel attraction for the nice guys who do everything right on paper. They feel guilty for being attracted to the wrong men. They don't understand their own desire mechanisms. It's a broken system where everyone loses. Men can't attract the women they desire. Women can't feel attraction for the men they rationally know would be good partners. And the cycle of frustration and misunderstanding continues. But you can break this cycle. Today. Now. The knowledge you've just absorbed is pure power. It's not about becoming a manipulator. It's not about deceiving women. It's about understanding human nature at its most fundamental level and acting in accordance with that understanding. When you apply these principles, something magical happens. The same women who once saw you as just a friend start looking at you differently. They start to feel that tension, that chemistry that was previously absent, not because you changed who you are, but because you learned to communicate who you are in a way that resonates with the deep mechanisms of desire. Let me be crystal clear about one thing. This is not about being an asshole. It's not about disrespecting women. It's not about becoming someone you're not. It's about understanding that there is a language of attraction you never learned, a language that operates below the conscious level, that speaks directly to primal instincts. Truly, high-value men don't need to diminish women to feel great. They don't need to be cruel or manipulative. They simply understand the dynamics at play and navigate them competently. They have clear boundaries but are respectful. They are challenging but not abusive. They maintain mystery but don't lie. They create tension but don't cause unnecessary suffering. The difference between a man who understands these principles and one who doesn't is astronomical. One lives in constant frustration, always wondering what he's doing wrong, always trying more of the same that doesn't work. The other navigates interactions with natural confidence, creating attraction without apparent effort, building relationships where he is genuinely desired, not just tolerated. And here's the hardest truth to swallow. If you don't apply this, nothing will change. You can read 1,000 books, watch 1,000 videos, but if you don't internalize these principles and start living them, you will remain in the same cycle of frustration. You will continue to be the guy they love as a friend. You will continue to see them choose others. You will continue to not understand why. The clock is ticking. Every day that passes without you understanding these mechanisms is a lost day. Every interaction where you operate by the wrong rules is a wasted opportunity. Every woman who could have felt genuine attraction for you but didn't, because you didn't know how to communicate your value, is a connection that died before it was born. You have two choices now. You can close this page, go back to your life, continue doing what you've always done, and continue getting the same frustrating results. You can continue believing the comfortable lies, continue being the nice guy everyone says women want, but no one truly desires. Or you can wake up. You can accept that you've been misled, not out of malice, but out of systemic ignorance. You can start observing these dynamics in action around you. You can start applying these principles, initially uncomfortably, then with increasing naturalness, until they become a part of who you are. Imagine for a moment what your life would be like if you mastered these principles. Imagine walking into a room and knowing exactly how your presence is being perceived. Imagine interacting with women without that constant anxiety about whether you're doing the right thing. Imagine creating genuine attraction without conscious effort, simply by being aligned with the real mechanisms of desire. Imagine never again hearing, "You're amazing," but imagine never again being the emotional friend while she dates someone else. Imagine having the power of choice, where you select who you want to be with based on genuine connection, not desperation for any crumb of female attention. This is not fantasy. It is the natural result of understanding and applying the principles I have just revealed. Men do this every day. The difference is that they understand the real game, not the sanitized version you were sold. But here's the problem. Knowledge without action is useless. You can understand all of this intellectually and still continue to act by old patterns. The behaviors you've practiced for years, decades perhaps, are deeply ingrained. Changing them requires conscious effort, practice, and yes, courage. Courage to say no when you always said yes. Courage to maintain your boundaries when she tests them. Courage not to seek validation when every fiber of your conditioned being wants that approval. Courage to create tension when it would be easier to create comfort. Courage to be the man you are capable of being, not what you were told to be. And this is where most fail, not from lack of knowledge now, but from lack of courage to apply it. It's easier to stay in the known, even if the known is constant frustration. It's more comfortable to blame women, society, genetics, anything but take responsibility for changing. But you are not the majority. If you were, you wouldn't have made it this far. Something in you knows you deserve more, knows you are capable of more, knows there is a version of you that masters these dynamics, that navigates relationships with power and purpose, that attracts naturally without desperate effort. That version isn't in some distant future. It's one decision away, the decision to stop operating by rules that don't work, the decision to embrace the truth about how desire really works, the decision to become the man you always had the potential to be. The world is full of mediocre men who don't understand these dynamics. Men who live lives of quiet frustration, always wondering why they can't create the attraction they desire. Men who die without ever having experienced the power of being genuinely desired, not for what they do or provide, but for who they are and how they present themselves. You don't have to be one of them. You have the information, you have the principles, you have the protocol. The only variable remaining is your decision. And that decision needs to be made now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready, now. Because every moment of hesitation is a moment where your old patterns strengthen, where your comfort zone solidifies, where the possibility of change diminishes. You feel it, don't you? This tension between who you have been and who you could be. This discomfort of knowing you've been living below your potential. This frustration of finally understanding why things weren't working and realizing how much time you've lost. Use that tension, use that frustration, use that newfound clarity. They are fuel for your transformation. They are the energy you need to break the patterns that have kept you stuck. The man you will be a year from now is being decided at this moment, by the choices you make now, by the actions you take or fail to take, by the commitment you make or reject to your own evolution. There is no middle ground here. Either you apply these principles and become a man who masters the dynamics of attraction, or you continue to be another statistic in modern male frustration. Another who knows what he should do but doesn't. Another who had the chance to change but chose miserable familiarity over powerful unknowns. Comment below which dark secret of female desire you've already noticed in practice. Which pattern you recognized in your own experiences after reading this. Which principle made you think this explains everything? Share your revelation, because naming is the first step to mastering. And if you're ready to go beyond theoretical knowledge, if you want the detailed map for practical application, download our quick guide to 3 unconscious signs of female attraction now. These are the indicators you need to recognize to know when a woman is genuinely interested versus when she's just being polite. It's the difference between wasting energy on someone who has no real interest and investing in someone who is already unconsciously attracted. The future is being written now. With every word you've read, with every principle you've absorbed, with every truth you've finally understood, the question isn't whether you can change. The question is whether you will choose to change. The dark secret of female desire is no longer a secret to you. Freud was forced to silence. You are not. You can live this truth. Apply these principles. Transform your interactions. Master the real game. The choice is yours. The time is now. The power is in your hands. Do something with it.